Discontinued
Gravy.
Gravy.
Discontinued Gravy.
Goal, to simplify life and make it fun.
Because we've been there.
I mean, we were in our mid-20s.
So we've seen it all.
This is...
Discontinued.
Gravy.
Ooh, okay. Party jams. Ooh.
Gravy.
Gravy.
Yep.
How are you doing today, Nick?
Hot. Really hot. It's another heat wave in the Vancouver area, and it's hot. But I'm on vacation, so.
So I was going to think that you meant like you were thinking very highly of yourself. Like, oh, I'm a hot tamale. And I was like, wow, Nick, we're feeling good today. Okay, I'm digging it. But you are right. It is hot in temperature as well.
It's very warm, but like I said, I'm on vacation, just sweating, and you know those vacations that don't quite feel like vacations? Like you're still doing nothing and you're doing cool things, but you know.
I mean, you're not like you're at home. You didn't go on vacation.
No.
You're on vacation. There's a difference.
I have time off from work. Like I'm still doing cool things. I'm hanging out with a lot of cool people. Like there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, but this would have been like the perfect week to go to where I usually go. You know what I mean? Like it's that type of relaxation. I don't mind what I'm doing right now, but sometimes Nick needs some relaxation.
Could you just like go to a beach and sleep in a tent and build a shed and feel like you're there? Would that be enough for you?
I don't think so. It's the people. It's the things you do. But you know, we're still okay. You know, not having to go to work has its perks. It's Thursday, so.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, your vacation's almost over. That's the sad part.
No, I still got like 4 or 5 days left.
Damn! What day did you start your vacation?
Like Monday, and I don't go back to work till next Wednesday.
Wow, look at you. See, that's the thing. I feel like sometimes you need more than the week. You need an extra day or two.
Yep, you need that double whammy. Yep, but so we're living life. Anyway, Krysta, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Nick. I'm actually afraid to tell you this because I have some beef. And beef with the Lions. The BC Lions, to be exact.
So this team... This team.
And I'm not just saying that because you're wearing that hat and I want to start beef with you. I truly feel this way right now.
That team too. There's like 4 things in this one picture of Lions memorabilia. What are you coming at me with?
I know, I can't. Everyone just watch Nick yell at me.
Krysta.
Okay. Long story short. Krista's on her commute home. All of a sudden, there's traffic. What does she go do? She goes to turn on the radio to find out the traffic report. Guess what? The traffic report is now exclusively Canadian Football League. BC Lions.
Yeah, and? Krysta?
And there's no updates on traffic for the whole hour during rush hour. This is supposed to be the Vancouver's exclusive traffic station. They lied to me. I've listened for an hour and got nothing. I got updates on the pregame and injury reports and all that stuff. But I was hoping just to slide in the traffic report. I wanted to know what lane I need to be in so it wouldn't take me an hour and a half to get home. It took me an hour and a half to get home because I didn't know what lane to be in.
Okay, so pro tip to anybody that's listening in the Vancouver area. When AM 730, which has somehow become the sports station in Vancouver, and I don't quite know why.
Who did they pay?
They do have the Lions rights, and there's football on the radio, and absolutely should be. If you find yourself in the game, in traffic, and you want to listen to a Lions game, but there's a slowdown, just go up the dial. News 1130 has traffic on the ones.
That's the problem.
Just go on. What do you mean? What's the problem? Just switch to News 1130.
I did, but there's none for like 8 minutes. I don't know.
Oh, so you stood an hour for the Lions game, but you couldn't go for 8 minutes at another station to get the news, traffic,
did.
and weather and ferries.
I did the 8 minutes, and then I didn't know it was on the one, so I gave up because I was like,
Krysta.
there's too many commercial breaks on these stations because they're not paid enough. Anyways, it was a very frustrating situation because I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm stuck in traffic. Can you find out what's going on for me? Give me the laydown. I'm the type of girl that likes to put on her jam and just ride out the traffic, but I need to know where the problem is. When am I going to pick up? Do I have to let anyone know I'm going to be late? I had an appointment. There's all these things to consider. She goes on, looks on Twitter, looks on Google Maps, says I should be smooth sailing. It obviously is not. So, I'm just disappointed that something that's supposed to be a traffic station every 5 minutes, nothing. Nothing for a full hour.
What time were you coming home at?
I left work at 5:05.
It's kind of rush hour. It's like the
Yes.
tail end of rush hour.
I was trying to get to Maple Ridge. Took me an hour and a half.
I don't know. Like, obviously there was no discernible. They would have just said there's volume. The longest road trip I've ever had from my work to my home, which is 15 minutes away, by the way, was 2 hours and 12 minutes. And there was no discernible. There was no reason for it. It just happens. Sometimes there's just volume, Krysta. So don't blame the Lions. Don't come at the Lions because they're playing football, kicking Calgary's ass.
But Nick, there was a giant accident. It was a 4-car pileup, and then there was cars stalling out because they didn't have gas. Many accidents happening along the way.
Well,
having
did
to
you
navigate all around
call
that.
AM 730? I'm sure Moj could have just been like, okay, hold on, traffic break. There's a hell on Maple Ridge, so don't go there.
Right? That's
Well,
all they needed to do.
could have
I
started
just need that update.
I don't know, Krysta. I disagree. There were options for you.
Just to clarify, what does on the ones mean? Is that on the hour?
No, it would be like
10,
it would be like 7:01, 7:11, 7:21, 7:31, 7:41.
Oh.
One.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I didn't know that, and I'm sure maybe other people didn't know that. Okay, anyways, I'm over my traffic beef. I'm sure no one wants to listen about me being stuck in traffic because I don't even like hearing it, so I'm sorry. I'll get over it. But Nick, I'm glad we got that conversation out of the way. It's one of those things that if I bring up anything Leo related,
it's gonna make it a little uncomfortable, isn't it, Krysta?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't know if it's gonna make or break us.
You never know what's gonna happen when you bring up the Leos to Nick.
Has strong feelings, obviously.
It's an understatement. But yeah. So, what's some uncomfortable feelings that you've had?
Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Nick and I this week, we're gonna talk about make and break conversations, uncomfortable conversations that you need to have with your partner or your significant other or even possibly a friend,
Or
but
work.
a strong relationship. Those
Yeah.
conversations that just kind of make you want to go back in your seat a bit.
Yeah, those are hard conversations that you don't want to be in. And we're going to tell you how to be in them or just completely avoid them because that's what Nick does.
How to avoid conversations.
Just don't
I
talk
think
to people.
Nick and I are both the king and queen of avoiding those conversations till we're forced to have them.
Yeah, for real.
So I'm sorry about this advice just off the bat.
Watch it be like extremely good advice. You know when people just don't really know anything? Like, I have a knack for telling people good beers. It's just something I have. I'm like, oh, I'll have this one. They're like, why? I'm like, trust. And they're like, wow, that was really
Sounds
good.
good.
They're like, that's really good. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. So, sometimes when people don't know anything, they actually give really good advice. It's weird.
It's also like that with relationships sometimes. When people give you a relationship advice, it's because they're not close to the situation, I think.
Yeah, they can give you a relationship advice, but they have no idea what's happening behind the scenes, so it might not even matter.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think the best thing to talk about is that interesting question we got the other week. the one about money in relationships.
Yes,
because
we did.
That's one of the taboos, right? You're told not to
yeah.
speak about money.
Yep.
What else is it? Religion and politics.
Yeah, one of those things at the dinner table. You know, you these are the things you can't talk about because you don't want to start a freaking civil war at the table.
But you have to have these conversations with your partner. You have to at one point.
Well, there are certain things, and if we're gonna talk like money, absolutely. Like obviously in the beginning we kind of touched on it. You know, there's a time and place to talk about money to somebody. But if you guys are eventually gonna get into a committed relationship where you know we're going all the way to the playoffs and the championship, then you know you kind of have to start talking about money. If you're sharing rent, if you know, like say you're living together, there's rent, there's groceries, there's amenities, there's dinner, there are things you have to share in money. And you know, it's all fine and dandy to be like, I got this one, you got the next one kind of thing, and just kind of even it out that way. But you know, if there's, say somebody's I'm a CEO somewhere and I'm making $100,000 a year, and Krysta, you know, is working somewhere that's really good, but you know they only make $50,000 a year. That's a huge difference.
It's a difference in lifestyle too.
Absolutely, it makes it like $50,000 is nothing to shake a stick at. But compared, like, how do you balance it out? You know, because like you don't want those conversations where it's like, you know, it's like, well, you make double what I make, so why don't you pay for it? You know what I mean? Like that just becomes kind of a contentious argument. Yeah,
then it becomes to that like down dark place of resentment almost.
Exactly. I just think in the sense of a money aspect, like it's completely understandable if they're making, especially that kind of a difference. If it's like 50 or 60,000, like if it's like $10,000 more, I don't think there's much of a gap. But if it's like a literal double, you can make moves and be like, okay, let's not make it 50-50, because that just seems unfair at that point. But if you make it, say, 60-40, at least make it, you know, that's even, because you're relatively terming the money, right? Like they're making double than you. Okay, it's fair to say, you know, make it 60-40.
Or proportional to what each of you make.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I know people in relationships that, hey, this guy does make double, so when we go out and do things, I pay what the like ratio difference would be,
right?
Type of thing,
right?
Like
exactly.
Everyone has their way of figuring it out. I definitely am the type of person that goes, ooh, sorry, I have my bunny in my arms because he got out of his cage. I'm definitely the type of person that's, it just all evens out, because most of the time it does. As long as you're not the one person that's always like, I got it, then it usually does even out.
Yep.
But recently, I'm just going to be honest here, I spent a lot of money on doing personal training and exercising. I'm poor now. Right? And I'm not used to that. I'm used to being kind of the breadwinner just because I have a constant income. And that's been in different relationships. I've had people tell me that, wow, like you do well for yourself for your age.
Yeah,
type
absolutely.
of thing. Like people are shocked because I know how to save. I have had a job with a title.
Yep. So
people are a little shocked, and it was kind of like I was the breadwinner. So now when I'm at the situation where, damn, now I have to be the one like, hey, can you like cover me? I'm poor.
Yeah.
It's kind of an awkward conversation unless you have had it before, I think. And it's one of those things I think you need to bring it up either early on if you know it's going to be serious, or if you're already too far in, it needs to be in a joking way. Like I said, hey, I'm poor this week.
Yeah.
Oh, why is that? Oh, because I spent all my money on this.
Yeah.
Because at least they understand what you're spending your money on and realize that you're not being frivolous with it. Because I think that's another thing. If there's different spending habits, and if this is a constant thing, that could be an issue for some people.
Well, it for sure can be. I mean, like, you know, it's like looking at, somebody who, they're little down on their financial luck, like it happens to everybody. You lose a job maybe, or the job's just not paying as well as it used to, like things get more expensive. This job doesn't, it just, there are things that happen.
The car broke down. I don't know.
Like there are things that happen, but then like you do need to bring that up. And if, like, I understand if you bring it up but then don't want to expand on it, like talk about it, just be like, hey, this is what's happening. It's not going well right now, but I just need to know I might need some help. And that's fine. That's fine. But I think the thing is then looking at those spending habits, because, 100%. If you, bring that up and, you're like, oh, I'm kind of poor this week. It's like, okay, it's fine. You'll get a paycheck in 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, yeah, payday's next week. Or exactly that. Maybe you just didn't get paid when you thought you were going to get paid.
Yeah, there's delays in paychecks, whatever it is. But, if you start being like, okay, well, why are you eating out every day? Like, oh, I have the money. It's like, do you? Because you do, but you don't. You know what I mean? Like, there's little things to have. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're constantly being like, I need help here, I need help there, that's great. But then if you're going away spending it on something as, really eating out is quite pointless. You can save money by buying food from a grocery store and making it yourself. Like, I just think these are avenues you need to think about. And if, you're kind of, I just feel like it's a little insulting to the person when you're constantly needing help, but then you're not helping yourself.
And we're not saying that you need to sit down and go through a budget with them unless
no, of course not.
If you're living with them, then you probably have to do that anyways.
Yeah.
Right? You should, because you need to know how much realistically you're going to be spending on groceries, electricity, rent, all those things.
Yeah.
But Nick is right. You need to consider the other person as well when you're having those, I know they'll cover me. I'm sure it's not a big deal to them, especially if they're making more money. It's just more of the act of it.
Yeah.
It's have you really thought about that? Because what would happen if they weren't there? Right? That's scary. You want to be financially independent. But my question for you, Nick, is do you think it's harder for guys to have that can you cover me conversation?
I would say absolutely yes. Like, personally, I don't. If my girlfriend or wife was making double what I'm making, power to them. Good for them.
Nick's like, I'll be the trophy husband.
I don't mind. But like the mental aspect, what we've been made, of is, the man of the house is supposed to be the breadwinner. They're supposed to bring home the turkey.
The bacon.
Turkey and bacon, you can bring home both.
I've only heard bacon. I've never heard bring home the turkey.
Well, there's that Weezer song, El Scorcho. I'll bring home the turkey if you bring home the bacon. It's kind
of... Okay. I'll let that one go.
But, you know what I mean? Like, just society as a whole has made this a thing. The man should make the money. But as we've proved time and time again, that's fucking bullshit. Like, it doesn't have to be the man. This stay-at-home mom is not really a thing anymore. It's more normal for a dad to be a stay-at-home dad. Like, I get it. Like, the mom, I'd argue, is probably usually better with the kids. Women are a little better at these things than men. But, I'm just, like, I don't think it matters. It shouldn't matter. I think it still does, especially in a lot of cultures around the world. But personally, I don't think it should be an issue at all. Like, sometimes someone's job, if you're doing a passion job and, you're taking a little less money, hopefully that person understands. Like, I don't know. To answer your question, yes, I think it's a problem for men, but personally, I don't think it's a problem.
I definitely think it's a bit of an ego bruise for guys. I've dated people before who we went to McDonald's and they didn't get paid that week. So they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Can you cover it? And of course I can, type of thing.
Yep.
But they told me that that's the most down they've ever been in their life, not being able to afford McDonald's or something like that. And it's just, that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself.
Yep.
That happens. And as a girl, yes, exactly. Like Nick said, men are the breadwinner. Girls, we're supposed to be looked after, almost. That's the social construct for both sides. But again, we don't always fit into those molds. And I think, actually, the statistics are showing that women are starting to make more than men.
Finally.
I mean, at a base level.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, that's just the way life works. It's I just think, like, especially in that situation you were saying, like how they're saying, like, can you cover me? But then they really kind of make a point about it. They're like, oh man, this is, I never do this, like, this one-time thing, like, they're making a big deal out of it. But I just think the simple answer is be like, I got you next time. Like it's that simple. Like, you don't need to make this federal case out of you not being able to pay that day, People are going to understand you're down on your luck. Now, if you've done it 10 times in a row, okay, I might start to question. But you know what I mean? Like, everybody understands. Sometimes money's an issue. Maybe you had a big purchase that you just recently did. It's not that you don't have any money. It's just you don't have the money right now. It's going to come back. It was a one-time purchase. You spent $2,000 on this thing. You're going to get a $2,000 paycheck the next week. So it's going to be fine. Just one day, they're going to take the food. And you know what? You should be doing that with your friends anyway, alternating the food. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's... you don't need to make a big deal out of it because it's not a big deal. Just be like, I got you next time, and move on.
But Nick, have you had that conversation with a significant other before?
No, because they didn't want to talk about it.
But did you try bringing it up?
Several times.
Oh, okay. So can you tell me how you tried to bring it up? Because I'm just imagining how this would get turned down.
So, I'm not one to bring up things straight up.
That is true. Nick is cash.
I'm not one to just be like, so money.
How about that?
Like, it would come, like, I try to find, like, an organic space, like, oh, I went to the bank today, and they're like, oh, yeah, what'd you do there? Oh, just talked over my investments, trying to start some new things, trying to make it a little better, and then, like, and try to, like, segue it in, just be like, oh yeah, like, you got, like, how are you doing with, your money? It's a reasonable question to ask. I mean, like, you shouldn't be asking everybody. Just be like, how's your like, it's perfectly unreasonable to be like, oh, how are your investments? Some people like to compare investments. What are you doing? What are you investing in? It could help me.
You old white man. How are your investments?
Well, I'm just saying, like, especially now, like, investments are bigger than ever. Like,
that is true.
Like,
okay.
Let's understand. Like, if you don't understand investment, it's free money. You put money in, you get money. It's pretty weird. But I'm just saying, like now, obviously, I'd say it's really inappropriate to walk up to somebody and just be like, how's your financial situation? Like, that's a little inconsiderate. But when it's just living together, it's a reasonable question to just be like, oh, how's your money? Do you have any investments? Like, you know what I mean? And then it'd be like, just be like, oh, no. Be like, oh, okay. And I'm not one to push either. Like, no is no. Like, I'm just going to, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. And then, again, it comes up over time. Again, I'm just being casual about it. It's being like, oh, I got this new job. Oh, they're paying me this much. You know what I mean? It's like,
because they deserve to know that too if they're your partner,
yeah.
And especially if you're at that point of you might be moving in together. You need a general idea of could we afford that?
Yep. So over time, more and more, like, put it this way, it took a while to get enough information out to understand the situation. Like, it took several tries, like, you learn a little bit here, and here.
You start putting it all together on the whiteboard.
Yeah, and I understand some people don't want to talk about money, and that's absolutely understandable. Like, you could even be the richest person in the world. They probably still don't want to talk about the money. They're like, oh, you're probably pretty well off. It's like, oh, I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like they just play it off. And some people, if they're down on their luck, hell, they're not going to want to talk about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm student debts, stuff like that. They don't want to talk about it, and I understand that entirely. But let's say you are in student debt. Say you have this debt, and it's harder and harder to pay the longer you wait.
More interest.
And as we've learned, if you don't pay your student loans, it doesn't really matter. But it bogs down on somebody, and I can't help somebody who, like if you told me about, so you're like, I had $20,000 of student debt, and I'm slowly making payments, but not totally. And I'm like, okay, like what would be my suggestion? It'd be like, okay, well, every paycheck you get, take this much out, just slowly start paying it. But that's where a financial person would come involved. Go to your bank and be like, how the hell can I do this? And they'll put you on a great plan that I'm sure will work for you. But like it's something you should bring up, because if you guys, let's say, get married and, start having joint money, where's half of my paycheck going? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's a conversation you need to have, but I understand if it's a really hard conversation to have for some people.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, too. It's like, are you just expecting it to get rolled in with the mortgage? Because I'm going to notice that.
and it can affect people, like your credit score and stuff like that. Then you're putting your name on these things. Like, like when it comes to a mortgage, maybe that person was so far in debt, they have no credit score, so they'll say no to the mortgage. But say my credit score is so good, they'll say yes, but now I'm putting mine on the line. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's a really tough. It's probably one of the hardest conversations you'll have in a relationship, but there are reasons to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably one of the hardest and most uncomfortable conversations. And that's why I think I maybe mentioned last week when that question came up. It's more for people that you're actually invested in. Yep. I don't think you bring that up on a first date unless it's like a really good joke or you're really comfortable with that person. Yeah.
That conversation's for, honestly, if you're moving in together, because you need to know what the rent's going to look like. Mm-hmm.
Or you've been together for a long time. Yeah. And I'm saying like 2-3 years. Yeah. At that point, I feel like you need to have a general understanding of finances. It helps to know how much someone gets kind of paid. You don't have to give them an exact number, but the ballpark definitely helps.
Yeah, and because, for some people, that's an absolute deal breaker. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not making the money. Like if you're not making enough money, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's a tough conversation to have, but it could be a make or break for somebody.
Mm-hmm. And I like the way that you bring it up, Nick. You kind of just slowly start bringing it up. Hey, how's that for you? Because I'm opposite, right? I'm either, can you just cover me? I'm poor. Yeah. Straight blunt. Or I need to sit down and have the conversation. Like, hey, here's the graph I made of all my finances and my budget. Can you review it with me? And then get their information.
Yeah, and once you take a look at it, you start to realize, I'm filling up my truck at $100 every freaking week because it's summer and I'm driving all the time.
Okay, don't feel bad about that, because Fifi's taking a lot of gas too, and she's supposed to be a lot better than a truck.
I think we're all hurting at the pump right now, but you know what I mean? Like it's a conversation to have, and if you can figure out yourself, great. That's fine. But your significant other deserves to know.
Mm-hmm. And there's so many other uncomfortable conversations that you can have. For example, I think we brought up religion. I don't know too much personally on my side, but I do have friends who've had relationships end because they got to the point where, they love the person, but down the line, the way that they wanted to raise their children were different religions, and they're like, we better get out now.
Well, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't think either of us are religious.
No, but that's an adult conversation to have.
Oh, well, it is, especially if you're, because, I mean, some people can be, there are people that are Christian that believe in, God and stuff like that, but they don't necessarily go to church all the time. Like my mom is technically Catholic, but I've never been to church in my life.
Same with my parents.
So, like people can be religious, but, it's not a problem to them. But, there are people that, they want to go to church every Sunday. This is a thing. They want their kids baptized. Like there are things. And that's a conversation you need to have before you go in. Mm-hmm. Because if that's the deal breaker, you could have made that deal breaker way before any of this.
And I almost feel like this conversation's almost more important to have before money.
Yes.
Because that's more of a deal breaker, whereas money you can almost adjust.
You can
right?
make it work.
Adjust your expectations.
You can exactly. You can adjust your expectations. You can make it work. But for something that's so essentially concrete, like that person isn't gonna change.
It's a core belief.
Exactly. Especially if you just flat out do not believe in God, and that person does, what the hell are you doing? But
that would be very interesting to hear. If there's an actual couple out there that has an atheist, that's like the anti-religion one, right?
Yep.
Okay. An atheist and someone who is strongly religious, I would be very interested to hear that dynamic.
My opinion is that if they're still together, one of them went one way. One of them converted. That's my thought. I don't know, but I just it's a conversation you need to have are you willing to think about this? If I'm not, I'm just gonna be like, well, no. It's like, okay, well, what are you doing here?
And then that's kind of like the kid conversation almost. I feel like everyone's like, oh, as long as it's a conversation you're willing to have.
That's a conversation you have to have. Because honestly, in my last relationship, it was a topic. They had no definitive answer. They never gave me an absolute answer. I want them. I want two. Boy's going to be named Marcus. Second one is, I guess I have to give to the other person because I'm getting Marcus. So
I like how you're willing this into the universe.
It's going to happen.
But exactly, it's a make or break thing for you.
It wasn't absolutely because they had said potentially.
Exactly.
And maybe they would make the sacrifice for the person, you know what I mean? But there was doubt, and for me, that was tough because I don't want to go into this being a committed relationship, and then we're 32, it's the time to have the child, and they're like, you know what, I don't want one. I'm shit out of luck. I've wasted maybe 5 years at that point. Okay, not 5, but maybe I was in the relationship for 5 years. What am I going to do now? We've gone this full distance for you just to tell me no when you knew I wanted them? This is a conversation you have to have, and you can't be like, maybe. This is not a maybe.
Nick, I disagree on that. I feel like you're allowed to be, I need to think about that till a certain point. Right? Until the marriage. Right? Until you actually think... You don't have to get married then have babies. I'm not saying that. But when you're willing to make that commitment, that's when you need to have your definitive answer.
Oh, I agree. It doesn't have to be
because
right. I agree.
If you asked me at 21 and I was in a serious relationship, I would have told you I don't know.
No.
Now,
okay.
Absolutely. I was saying last year, I was saying I want 5 kids.
Yeah. Right. But obviously, I'm not saying you need to know at this immediate moment. But if you're gonna take it a step further, look, I wouldn't pop the question until I got a total answer. I'm telling you right now, if you were saying I don't know, and then you tell me and you want me to propose, and you haven't given me a definitive answer whether you want kids or not, that's good. That's it. It's an ultimatum. It has to be. I fully
Does the age point have to be an ultimatum for you? Does it have to be by 30?
No, okay, so I have opinions about that. I think the best time to have a child is between 28 and 32. I just think that's an ideal time to have a child.
Also, the best reproductive years for a woman. It's sad, but true.
So Nick knows something here. I didn't even know that, but you're welcome.
I just want to say to any women right now, because it's just something that from the doctors at the old golf club I used to work at, if you're in your 30s and you're not sure if you want to have kids or not, freeze your eggs. Just do it, because then you have the opportunity to do it later down the line instead of having time taken away from you. That's the one advice I got from the lady doctors at a golf club. There you go.
Pro tip. But, for me, that zone is starting in about 3 months from now for me. And we're not remotely close to that at all. But I'm just saying, the years don't... my parents had me at 42. So, I'm
I'm just doing the math.
Like, I'm not saying that.
My parents had me at 36.
Yeah, so like I don't think age is as big of an issue. Like 40's pushing it, I'll put it that way.
Reproductively wise too.
Well, that, but I mean, like, I get it. You're financially stable. You probably have your career job at now.
You're
makes
probably
sense.
a little bored.
It makes a little sense. But I'm just saying, like, age isn't the biggest issue for me. It's a yes or no. And I look, I know people that said no, and then they've grown older and like, yes. I get it. You have time to make this, and I absolutely respect a women's decision. They're the ones that have to deal with it. I don't have to do anything. The worst thing I have to deal with is their food cravings. But
if they decide to bear the child, if you decide to adopt, that's another thing. Or
that's a completely
surrogate.
different thing.
Other options, definitely.
There are absolutely other options. But, you know, like, if the woman's just like, you know what, I don't want to go through that hell, that's great. If you love the person, you might be able to be like, okay, fine, I can deal with this. But if you're like me, at this present moment, Nick wants Marcus, and
I don't blame you. I'm on your side because I definitively I know I want children.
Right.
I don't know the exact age. I don't know,
I don't have a timeline for it.
I've kind of talked about it because, you know, engagements and stuff. You have to have that make or break conversation. Those were the conversations we needed to have so I could have this.
Exactly. You need to. It's a conversation you need to have. It's an uncomfortable conversation for some people. Because they might know it is a make or break conversation. They might know, you know, like, well, I don't want to break up with you. It's like, okay, well.
But that's not fair to the person, especially if it's someone
not.
like Nick who absolutely knows this. Are you really going to make them wait another year or two of their life and have them fall even more in love with you, make it that much of a hard breakup?
Yeah, like it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but it needs to be had. But Krysta, what's another? Do you have any other ultimatums that you maybe were like for the other person? You're like, you kind of need to like this, or I'm gonna have problems. Or in general, like even at work, is there something that, you know, you're just
so
like...
I think it has to be okay with me having a career. That's one. I'm not gonna be a stay-at-home mom the whole time. Of course, I know I will, but I want to continue my career afterwards. But I also think maybe my family's a make or break. I'm a twin, so you're going to be spending a lot of time with my family. And that's not a normal thing for some people.
Not
see
for some
your
people,
family maybe just on holidays for some people.
One dinner every year, you know, or a couple dinners here and there, but
You have to see my family at least once a month. At least. So you're donating one day out of your weekend a month to my crazy family. But I don't even know the best way to bring these conversations up. I feel like the only ways I brought them up is pillow talk, or you know, you've had a couple glasses to drink and you're having a good time, you're sitting on the couch and you're like, this is the time. It's something kind of brought it up in you. For example, maybe there's a cute family on the TV.
Yeah.
And the dad's doing something really cute. You could be like, you'd be a really good dad one day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Get the conversation going that way. If you think they would be, obviously, don't lie to them. If you,
there's no reason to be like straight up, but like, you know, like if you can work it in a conversation and you can even say it like as a joke, be like, oh man, would you ever want kids? And they could be like, not really, and you'd be like, oh.
I personally find that the pillow talk conversation works really well for me, but I've actually heard from professional therapists, people type things, and other podcasts that the best place to have it is outside of the bedroom because you're already so vulnerable in there that when you have to leave that conversation, if it doesn't go well, it's going to make it hard to go back there, if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely makes sense.
So if you know that you might be in that type of situation, it might be best to have it on the couch type of thing in a good mindset. I don't think you should ever have these conversations in a bad mood. Like, for example, the financial thing. So the person did something dumb with their money, and then all of a sudden you just snap, and you're like, you always are so dumb with your money.
Yep, not a good idea.
Why? You spend so much on clothing.
Everybody needs to be level-headed.
Right? Or some people's feelings are really going to get hurt.
It's very true. It's very true.
I so easily get my feelings hurt, and I so easily can dish it too. I'm just like, it should be this way, this way. As soon as they give it back to me, I'm like, what?
Yep. It's true.
It's all in the sad eyes.
It's all in the sad eyes. That's how Krysta gets you.
Mm-hmm. Cutthroat. I know. Nick, do you have any other make or break conversations?
So oddly enough, sports is not one of them for me.
They have to be okay with you watching sports.
That's the key. Look, you don't have to like them, but you have to deal with me playing them and watching them constantly. So I'm just going to tell them right now, be like, it'd probably be to your benefit to like them, or at least try to like them, but it's not a make or break. But it is more fun when the person likes the sports. But that's actually not a true problem for me.
But aren't you the type of person that sneaks off to go watch sports at a family gathering or something?
I've left a wedding for a Canucks playoff game, yes.
Yes, exactly.
So, like I say, beneficial, but again, not mandatory. But this one's tough for me because that place I go to every summer, that place I should be right now, I don't want it to be an ultimatum, but it would really help the cause if you liked it. You know, like, it's a place that I'm always going to go to. Like, I know there's a family member in here whose wife is of a different religion and does not allow the person to go. I don't want to be that person. Like, you know, it's like, in my family, it kind of worked because my mom doesn't go, but it worked because, you know, we have dogs to take care of. You know, there were things to do. But I just think I'm going to be going.
You see yourself as a family going one day.
I'm going either way. It just would be easier if you came along. You know what I mean? Like unless you want to spend a week at home alone, like, which some people might. But, you know, like again, I don't know if it's make or break, but I'd lean it more to...
It's make or break if they wouldn't let you.
Yeah, if you didn't let me, like, take a hike. But,
okay, so that's the make or break.
Yeah, but, you know, like...
Whether or not they're going to accompany you...
If they like it or...
Maybe half the time.
Yeah, like, if they like it or not, it's going to... Like, for me, it'd be like... I'd have to decide if I truly do love this person. If I'm sitting here right now, I'd say probably yes, it would be a make or break conversation. But I've had people who love it and we broke, so...
Yeah, that is a good point,
like
right? It's one of those things that maybe that will tell you that you really love them if they decide, hey, this isn't for me, but you go have fun.
Yeah, you know what? That's fine. You know, a week to yourself is actually probably recommended in the marriage manual book thing. You know, like you each have a week alone doing things with your girlfriends or your guy friends or your non-binary friends.
Right, all those in between.
You know, so I don't know. Yeah. That's it though. Like, I don't really have anything. I'm an easygoing guy.
It's one of those things someone would have to ask me.
Oh, for sure.
Specifically for me to be like, yes, no.
Yeah, no.
But again, I'm in that situation so if someone told me that my significant other had that ultimatum for themselves and they're like, Krysta, you can't do this. Now I would actually seriously have to consider that. Yeah. It's not a hypothetical situation anymore that's made up in my head. Yep. It's real.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to have these conversations actually.
My best advice to you is try to find an organic way to bring it up. You know, like work for it, you know, kind of like you're like, "Oh, I read this in the paper today. How do you feel about that?" You know what I mean? Like,
I read this in the paper today.
Like, try not to, like, just be like, sit down and be like, so you want to have kids? Like, just, you know,
slap them.
Like, just, you know, sit down and be like, oh, baby boomers, we're kind of having a baby boom. We're not, as far as I know, but, you know,
we're having a COVID boom.
More people are having babies, probably. More people are having babies than ever now. How do you feel about that? You know, like. Try to bring it up organically and not like straight up, because at least the person might be able to, you know, if you're making it kind of like in a funny way, you know, they're not gonna make a joke whether if they like, oh, you know, I never really thought about it. I don't really want kids. But you put it in there now. At least you can start there. He hasn't said no. He just said, I haven't thought about it, so I don't think so. But now he's going to think about it. And then he would come back 2 days later and be like, so you mentioned that. Do you want kids? Be like, oh, yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, maybe I do.
Oh.
Yeah, that's odd. Just
my advice for the people who get uncomfy in those situations and aren't expecting it to be brought up, and that you're going to avoid it at all costs and just shut down and hope that they forget it. Take a deep breath. Obviously, this topic's important to that person, or else they wouldn't be bringing it up, because they're probably feeling a little uncomfy too.
Yep.
So try to just sit through it, nod your head, tell them you'll think about it, and get back to them.
And that's a totally reasonable thing to say. You know, if you really don't want to talk about it right then and there, just be like, hey, you know what? Haven't thought about it yet, but I'm happy to talk about it another time. I'll let you know.
Actually, I would appreciate that, because I know that you're putting a lot of thought into it at that point, but you have to have the conversation. You can't just keep putting it off.
If you're gonna keep waiting and they ask again, that's your fault.
Anyway, that is Nick and Chris's advice about how to talk about uncomfy things.
We're kind of good. I thought we gave some good advice.
I mean, we have some more advice to give.
We do.
And it's during questions of the week.
Questions of the week. You ask, we answer.
And we do our best.
I think we do great.
Absolutely. I'm going to go first, because Nick, actually, you go, I go, you go?
Okay, sure. Okay, so our first question, which was sent to us on our Instagram. I don't really get it, but what is Greek life / rushing, and why is it all over my TikTok page?
Okay, I might be able to help with this.
Oh, you have information?
So right now, if you're part of Greek life, which is being part of a sorority or a frat, rather, it's a really big thing in the States, and rushing is starting right now. So that's basically when you're pledging and getting to know each of the sororities and the other places, finding out if there's a legacy, all those other things. It's a really big deal in the U.S. for some colleges. In Canada, it's not a big deal at all. Actually, a lot of people I know kind of made fun of people who were in sororities. I don't know why. I think they just like, a sorority in Canada, there's literally one at each university.
Yeah.
It's not like you get to compete or do anything.
Yeah, like they're kind of things in Canada, but it's more of like, lol.
And I mean, it's great that you find a group of people that you get along with and you can have your own community. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? It's a community. But I just want to tell everyone who's rushing, don't put too much pressure on yourself if you don't get into one, or if you do and it doesn't work out. Life will be okay.
Look, the Bard and Bellas were like the worst thing on campus, and then they became the best thing on campus, so...
That's the only information Nick has.
You could become a great singer. Yep.
I mean, if you can already sing, I think.
My point is, it could be a shitty fraternity, and because you didn't get in the good one, you go to that one and then become the best one. You know, things change. Yeah. That's what happens. And new people come in, new blood, they make it better. So.
And if you're thinking about it, just do it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? You get hazed and you drop out? I don't know.
I couldn't tell you, but okay. So maybe that's why. Maybe you've looked into a college on your Google, and then TikTok's like, oh, you're like college, here they are.
He liked one college TikTok, and now it's done game for him.
Now it's over.
Okay, my turn.
Yes.
Another question from our Instagram.
We love it.
Hi, Nick and Krysta. I have a work friend who I get along with and really like, but their work ethic isn't so great. I'm talking will not do anything they don't need to do. But right now at work, they're getting in trouble for something unrelated to their work ethic. And from what I can tell, isn't even a big deal and isn't a full story / true. But it seems like the managers are taking this as an opportunity to nail them to the wall. this person is getting really confused. Should I tell them that I think it might be because of this other problem resulting in their work instead of the problem that's actually going on right now?
Ooh, that's tough.
That's a good question.
It is. I don't think you can like if you know that information, I think it would be a really bad idea to bring it up to them just because if they don't know and you're telling them that, it's kind of like, well, then what do they think? Like, I think a lot more questions are going to come than answers. Like, I understand where you're coming from. You want to help them. You want to protect them. But I might try to bring it up in a non-straight-up way. Like, just be like, I don't know. It's a real messy situation you're in. It's I don't know if they're going to win. Like, like this kind of sounds like O.J. Simpson. He got acquitted for the murder, but then he got in another trial for, like, theft, and then they gave him whatever he should have got for the murder in the theft case. You know what I mean? Like, they're making up for it. I don't think there's anything you can do at this time.
I think, if anything, if this is a union-based job, you could talk to the union rep person.
True.
Or your steward, whoever. I'm not part of a union, so I don't
Never
really
have.
know. But you could bring it up to them. That's what they're there for. If it is in a union-based environment, just be a friend. Let them vent and talk about the situation and be there for them. It's just going to hurt their feelings if you tell them that, hey, your work ethic sucks. I know I would be shocked and hurt if someone told me that. So just be a friend. Otherwise,
There's not much you can do.
It's just a crappy situation. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It really is.
Now hit us.
Okay, and the last question we have again on our Instagram, how did Discontinued Gravy become reality?
Ooh.
Good
I like
question.
how that question's worded.
Yeah. How did it become reality? Well,
First it was a conception. There was the birth.
yes.
Conception, then birth.
So, basically, I think the funny joke is that, like, do you want to start a podcast is like the 2000s version of do you want to start a band?
Absolutely.
So, I think, it's relatively easy to start a podcast, as long as you have some wherewithal. But, Chris and I wanted to do this. We had that other friend, not really friend anymore, ex, in the idea as well. Anyway, we had this idea for a podcast. It went through many different forms of topics and ideas and stuff like that. The name came from...
Don't tell.
I wasn't going to. I was going to say, I don't know. It just happens. That's the biggest question we get, by the way. All the time I get asked that. But basically, we had the name, and I think the name Discontinued Gravy was just kind of like, well, what is Discontinued Gravy? And
what does it mean to us?
Nobody really knows what it means or what it would mean. So, like, we could talk about anything, Krista and I just kind of started talking about life. Like, yeah, we're not talking like hard-hitting life issues, although I'd say today's the one was kind of like that. But, we're just kind of talking about things that people talk about in our lives, and we're just putting it in a form that people can go access and be like, oh yeah, I've had that conversation with my other friend. Like, I agree with what they're saying. Or maybe you're like, no, they're stupid. Why are they saying that? That's not how you do it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, or if you're feeling lonely and you just want another friend, hey, Nick and I will be your friend.
We're pretty cool. But, yeah, I think it just, we talked about it, then we got the technology to do it, and a pandemic.
And much trial and error.
Yeah.
If you listen to any of our first 10 episodes, I'm not suggesting you go back, but you know what? Maybe go back if you haven't. Okay. You will hear the difference.
Yeah, it's like 3 episodes, Krista. The beginning is the beginning. Like, it's not perfect. But, like, it takes time. It takes to learn thing. And, it just, I guess, we just kind of kept going, like, we easily could have stopped by now. You know, like we could have just been like, it's not working for us. Whatever. It's episode 55. You know, like we're still trucking. We're over a year over. You know, it's just. I guess we're just kind of persevering and not really caring about what's happening.
Yeah, and I think that's a great answer.
That's it. That's how we did it.
And we did it. We're here.
Yep.
And now, on to recommendations of the week. I almost rolled my R there.
That was a good one.
I wish you could have heard it better. I almost did it.
No, I heard it. It was better than you've ever done. We should let Hannah know. Krista's working on her.
I can't do it again. I won't even try.
Yep.
It was because I wasn't overthinking it.
Anyway, Krista, what is your recommendation of the week?
I had a very specific recommendation, and I don't know why I forgot it.
Happens to me all the time.
Right? I specifically was driving home, and I was like, this is my recommendation. Meep, out the other end.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
So actually, this was going to be my recommendation before the beginning of this episode. But my recommendation is give the Lions a shot. You know, everybody, there's football on the TV right now. And it's good football. It's the CFL, the Canadian Football League. We missed an entire year of it. They didn't play last year because CFL doesn't have multi-billion-dollar contracts to be given to play sports in an empty stadium. They need butts in the seats. But it's truly Canadian. You know, it's still football at the end of the day. I'm not going to get into it. Like these are conversations we're going to have, but give the CFL a shot. Go see a Lions game. They're here next week on August 19th against the Edmonton Elks. Go to a game, enjoy the football. Like, you know, it's good football. It's fun to watch. Support your local teams. It's fun. It's great. They're doing well this year. They're going to win the Grey Cup on December 12th. I'm going to be in Hamilton watching them lift it.
Wow. You're speaking it into the universe.
It's happening. It's happening.
Okay. I'll keep you to it, and then I'll copy this clip when they're there for you. And I'll post it on Instagram being like, Nick foretold.
Hell yeah, I did.
Okay. My recommendation is not as fun as Nick's, but I'm going to recommend that you go to the gym and do an arm day. I know that's really dumb, but I didn't feel like going to the gym yesterday or the day before. But I put on my cute little gym outfit, my little biker shorts, got in my car, got to the gym. Once you're there, that's half the battle.
It's very
and
true.
just do the damn thing.
Yeah, that is a good recommendation. I don't like going to the gym. It's not my thing. It's not my place. There are other ways I'd rather get my exercise. But, you know, I think it's a good recommendation. Like, even, you know, if you're having a bad day and you're like, I don't really want to go. If you go, you might feel a lot better. I know I do. You know, like when I go play sports, you know, there have been days where like, I just don't want to go play Ultimate today. But then I go and I feel 100% better than after. You know, like
soccer used to always be like that for me.
Right?
It used to always be like, ugh, I don't want to go. And then afterwards, it's like, I'm in such a great mood.
Yeah, like, you know, even if you don't want to do it, like, do it. It will help. You might feel better. There are going to be days where it's just not going to work, but, you know, when you do go, commit. It's a good idea. There's lots of good things to do when you go to the gym.
Just get physical.
Yeah, it's good. And it's not for everyone. Like I say, I'm not a guy that likes to go to the gym. I get my exercise elsewhere. But give it a shot. You don't know if you're not a gym guy if you don't try.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
We stand.
Okay, Nick and I are going a little crazy, so that probably means we should say goodbye.
It's probably a good idea.
I just want to say thanks for listening.
We'll be back at it again next week with more Discontinued Gravy.
Talk to you later.
Peace.